I wanted to talk about ideology and ideologies and how they change. About 100 years ago, both Russia and Turkey underwent revolutions. And in fact, it was in the Russian Empire and in the Ottoman Empire. And the Ottoman Empire collapsed, and the Young Turks formed the new Turkish Republic under Kemal Atatürk, Mustafa Kemal. But the Russian Empire had the Bolshevik Revolution, but it maintained all its territory. It didn't collapse and lose all these regions that are now independent states, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan. It retained the autonomy over all of the Russian Empire, and these regions became autonomous Soviet Socialist republics in the USSR, the United Soviet Socialist Republics. And Turkey overnight became a secular republic, and a program of westernization ensued, and the Turkish written language went from being in the Arabic script to being in the Western Latin script. So overnight you created a generation of illiterate people. And for about 100 years, both Turkey and Russia, or the Soviet Union, were officially secular, atheistic countries. Religion in the Soviet Union was virulently suppressed. The Marxist ideology that had led to the Bolshevik Revolution said that religion was the opiate of the masses, and Marx said, do away with religion, very much against it. And the Ottoman Empire, having been the seat of the Caliphate, the Muslim state as it was back then, was now officially secular. They tried to translate the call to prayer into Turkish, so a very nationalistic ideology took hold in Turkey. And this wave of atheistic thinking and Marxism that became Leninism in the Soviet Union. Hello to Toyton, big up Lessons for Life, watching on mute, unfortunately, as I'm streaming, no problem. Well, I hope you can lip read, or maybe the subtitles are picking me up, but great to have you in here anyway. So, the ideology of Marxism in what became the Soviet Union was already split down the middle when the Bolshevik Revolution happened, because alongside the Bolsheviks, who were very Bolshe, you had the Mensheviks, who were the Mensch-like, I suppose, and they split in two. Shortly after the Soviet Union was created, you had Trotsky, Leon Trotsky, who ended up fleeing the Soviet Union and was found murdered in Mexico, killed with a ice pick, I believe. And even today, these divisions among the left, among socialist-minded people, are alive and well. And I've been at rallies and demonstrations where people who would describe themselves as Stalinist, followers of Stalin, who came later after Lenin, would hurl abuse at people and insult them for being Trots, i.e. followers of Trotsky. And Jeremy Corbyn gets accused of being a Trotskyist. So it's very much like the life of Brian and the analogy of the Judean People's Front and the Front for the People of Judea. All these separate factions who are on the same page politically end up turning on one another. And it seems there's no one more wrong than someone who almost agrees with you. But let's see if this person agrees with me. Hello, welcome.
How you doing, bro?
I'm very well. Who's this, Mac?
Yep.
Yeah, the Mac is back. Welcome, Mac. Do you follow an ideology?
Well, yeah, it's the higher power in charge. That's Einstein's theory, isn't it?
Okay.
He said that there's a higher being. You know what? I'm going to retract my statement yesterday.
Are you going back? You're retracting something. What? Are you now a flat earther again?
There's no evidence, and you know what? It's not that. You know what shape is a coin?
Say that again, Mac. Mac, if you can, speak up, as my mic seems to be quite quiet.
I'm saying what shape is a coin?
What shape is a coin? A coin is disc shape. Mac?
It's not round.
Well, it depends on perspective. If you're looking at it from above, it's round, but it's a 3D shape. When we talk about shapes, we tend to think in two dimensions, but it's a 3D object. Mac, you got a bad line, my friend. If it's possible, call me on WhatsApp, because we've got a bad line, unfortunately. Your line is not good. We've lost Mac there. 1 second. Hello, Mac.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
That's better, fella. Yeah, what you were saying about a coin and what shape it is.
Yeah, exactly. So just because the Earth may be round doesn't mean it's not flat.
But what we're talking about, and this ties straight into ideology. People start to label themselves as a flat earther or a globe. I mean, people use the term glober.
Have you heard of a guy called, I think his name is, he was actually, he's the one that started he was part of the common law people, and he actually sent back his driver's license. David Murphy, or something Murphy, I forgot his name. I'll find that. He presents a very good case, and he's a flat earther. I don't know if you watch a guy gets pulled over, and he basically, in the UK, he sent back his license to DVLA and deregistered his car with them, and he got pulled over for it, and then he was like, look, I'm using my right to travel because there's a law in the Magna Carta, and he went quite deep with it. So I'm sure from what he's been able to do, and if you Google him, I think his name is Dave Murphy. Okay. Dave, he's like, honestly, he will present it a lot better than I will.
So he's obviously a clever guy, and he's virtually a lawyer. So he can make the case. I'm sure you can make the case for the Earth being perceived as flat. But the reality is, we live on a spherical planet.
With lasers and with all sorts of UV cameras, they've established that if the sun's reflecting to the moon, then the moon should the lighter side should be warmer.
Mac,
in actual reality,
we live on a spherical planet, my friend. It's fun to try and argue the counterclaim. If this guy is as clever as he is, he may be doing it just for fun. He may be doing it just for fun. It is interesting to think outside the box.
Topic again, it goes back to the Darwinian ideology.
Yeah.
If you're academic and you've taken that sort of route, then you're going to be programmed, brainwashed to some extent. Richard Dawkins, he doesn't even believe afterlife. He doesn't even believe in God. But again, there's people like Sheldrick, and they say that he's actually from agnostic, he's become a believer. So even there must be something for him to be up. So again, but if you're academic, you tend to go towards the Darwinian ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you open your eyes to, well, should we say close your eyes and open your third eye?
Look, the closest mind, the biggest ideology out there are the flat earthers. They are the ideologues.
I'm questioning it. Okay. You know what? I'm still open-minded. I'm not saying,
Mac,
definitely...
honestly, I think it's disinformation. I think you're wasting your time with these people because they are a little club that think they found something. They want to be interesting. They want to feel that they found something interesting. No, look, if I shuffle up a pack of cards and you choose a card and I find it under seemingly impossible conditions, it doesn't mean that I'm magic. It means you don't know how I've done it. So just because there's some experiments that we can't explain why it does this and does that, the answer is not, well, the Earth's flat. That's not the answer. It will be a different answer.
I'm just saying we're on autopilot since the 15th century.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
And just because we're in school, Newton doesn't even know gravity. I mean, we haven't even we can see Higgs bosons, but we can't see gravitons. Okay, so it's all. I mean,
but debating this and thinking about this when we really should be thinking about the gravity that brought down Building 7 at free fall speed. That was gravity, and we all saw that. But while we're busy deciding whether the Earth is round or flat or a ball or an egg shape, the people that brought down Building 7 and the other two towers are laughing at us. That's my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, baseball, football, UFC, all of these are there to distract us from the main objective of each governmental purpose. I mean, like if we like didn't have these hobbies, I mean, people even follow football as a religion.
Caller that's trying to call me now, call me back in 2 seconds. I've got a call on another line.
By all means.
No problem. Caller that just attempted to call back in. Okay, that's Saj saying on the screen that he's trying to call in. We will go back to Mac. I just want to open up the phone lines for a moment. Whoever tried to call me, we got into the flat, and this is the trap that we fall into, and it shows that it works because I'm on here trying to shed some light on how the Stalinists ended up fighting with the Leninists, ended up fighting with the Trotskyists. I'm trying to shed light on that subject. We get a phone call from long-time contributor Mac. He brings up the flat Earth theory, and we start arguing about it. And I'm trying to defend my point. He's trying to defend his point. That, to me, shows that the trap has worked. Whoever's trying to call in, try calling again. I've freed the lines up so you could call. Give me a shout. But yeah, what is it about the flat Earth theory that gets us tied up in knots? I think when something, and this goes for religion as well, an idea that is impossible to disprove will eventually gain some kind of momentum. And it's impossible. Well, here we go. We've got a phone call. Hello and welcome to the airwaves. Who's this?
Hello, my name's Johnny.
Hello, Johnny. Welcome.
Hi.
Do you follow an ideology?
Well, right now I'm in my pajamas, so this is still a bit embarrassing, but I've never been on air before. It's not my first time. I'm very nervous.
It's only embarrassing if you tell us, Johnny. It's all right. What colour pajamas are they?
Well, you really want to know?
Well, you brought it up, so I thought I'd ask the question.
So the whole world can hear me right now?
Not quite the whole world, not quite the whole flat Earth. Just just the northern, just the northern hemisphere.
Just 12 subscribers,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Hello, 12 subscribers. My name is Johnny Gill. I'm half Indian, half white.
Okay, that's quite a mix.
That's why the name is Johnny Gill.
Yeah.
My pajama color is pink with yellow spots. Please don't laugh at me.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to let you guys know. Did you know? You ready for this one?
Yeah. Bombshell.
Did you know that the McDonald's yellow stripes on the inside of the box fools you into thinking that there's more fries in there?
Wow. You heard it here first. If that's the worst thing McDonald's have done, that's not so bad.
I mean, they butchered people and done all kinds of...
Ronald McDonald's killed more than It the Clown.
Yeah, but since we're on the subject of ideology,
Yeah.
I mean, just look around you. Everyone has an ideology. I mean, 9 to 5, that's an ideology.
Yeah? Do you think we're brainwashed into that, indoctrinated?
I mean, we are robots. You see everyone on the train now with social media, phones, head down, go to work, grab a Starbucks coffee. Don't think of it as the Illuminati. Go to work, serve your master, not your boss.
Yeah. Johnny, do you know what robot means?
It's a device that's kind of like...
Well, literally, it means worker. Arbeit is work in German. Above the concentration camps in Nazi Germany, it said Arbeit macht frei. Working makes you free. Although actually, they were killing them. So Arbeit, robot, worker. We are robots. We are workers. You're absolutely right to bring that up.
Yes, and we are so controlled that we all have an individual ideology. Some people like to sit and watch Netflix all day eating cheeseburgers. That's an ideology that they believe in, you know?
Yeah. Well, what is your ideology, if you could sum it up?
My ideology is, so you're saying my way of life?
Well, do you have an ideology? Some people like to wear a label. Others say, well, I'm open-minded.
Open-minded would mean LGBT, right?
Could mean that.
Not necessarily, yeah.
Don't forget the Q.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm as straight as a pencil.
Thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Gill.
It doesn't mean the pencil can't get bent, but it doesn't mean that I won't be bent. I won't fall down into the fire.
Okay, thank you.
Relight my fire.
Here we go, karaoke
You're
night.
like my only desire.
Yeah.
I forgot the lyrics. I'm just gonna continue like you hear it.
Take that. Well, thank you very much, Johnny Gill. I hope we hear from you again.
Okay, have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, and good night. That's Johnny Gill there. Anonymous caller, strange individual. And the line is free now for anyone else who wants to get involved. Yeah, we were talking about flat earth theory. I don't want to get bogged down in it, but it is a classic example of how an ideology can be set up to, I think, destroy people that are actually on the right track, actually searching for the truth. It's so appealing to think, I found out something no one else knows. The earth is flat. For years, we thought the earth was flat. This is the last thing I'm going to say about it. I'll move on. And then gradually we came to a greater a more evolved understanding. I know Matt won't like the use of the word evolve because he's very much against Darwinism. This might be him back. Let's see who this is.
It's me again.
Okay, Matt, you're back in, yeah. Sorry, that was a distraction.
The flat earth thingy for a minute. Just to, I mean, if you really think about it, we have an essence in our being. Like, once this body goes, where does our essence go? That's the ideology. Now, whether religion tries to help you, guide you or not. But I personally believe, we can dispute, whether the sky is blue or light blue, or you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
It really doesn't, because it's not going to. But understand the reason why people would do this and why they would benefit is in the olden days. When people when Mayans or the Aztecs, they worship time, they knew when the next eclipse is going to occur, and they would use that to their advantage. Would make threats saying, "Oh, if you don't provide us with this, we will make the sun go dark on this day." And da da da.
And they knew it would happen.
You hold that kind of knowledge against them, and therefore you can control you have mass population control. So at the end of the day, I can get really technical, but whether it's flat or not, the point is having a superior the actual knowledge compared to some false knowledge, as you say, it kind of gives you the upper hand to the masses.
Yes, I think, yes. Okay, knowledge is always power, I guess. It is always better to know the truth, whatever that truth is.
Yeah, even if it's a lie, I mean, people can't hold that against you. Like, at least you'll know the truth because you already have the knowledge. But again, that's my idea. So I'm just seeking for whether it's flat or not. I'm looking for evidence. If the evidence sways to around Earth, I'm all for it. Like, it's not going to make a big difference to my life, really, or anyone else's life. But it's understanding what ideology is the truth ideology and following it up. So that's all. That's all I just wanted to contribute. And also,
go on.
Also, recognition was what Maradona was looking from the Napoli fans. Yeah, whereas narcissist is completely different to recognition.
Okay, this goes back to what we were talking about last night, whether Maradona was a narcissist.
But I couldn't think of it. And also, the Gypsy King, he's got the moxie. That's what. You know what a moxie is, right?
No, what's that?
Hey Google, define moxie.
Here's the definition of moxie: informal, force of character, determination, or nerve.
Okay.
There's a type of moxie about him. So whether he's got the US, that's why people are drawn to him, in my opinion. Like the word is moxie. Okay. So that was the other thing I was going to just cover up yesterday. I wasn't thinking clearly.
Thank you very much.
That was my contribution, and
it was a superb one.
What do you think about the knowledge? I mean, that's the only reason why I say, like, you might think it's waste of time to go and dig up all this information and see whether it's true or not, but at the same time, it's knowledge to have. You learn.
The Illuminati, the illuminated ones, have always sought out knowledge. They even wanted secret knowledge that no one else had, esoteric knowledge and occult knowledge, the hidden knowledge.
Yeah, I know about the esoteric.
Yeah, the esoteric.
And the hermetic knowledge.
But this would be a case of some knowledge being, rather than seeking knowledge, it would be knowledge being taken away, because once upon a time everyone presumed the earth was flat. To go down that road one more time. Once upon a time, we all presumed the earth was flat. We gradually came to the conclusion that it wasn't. Instead of someone seeking some new knowledge that no one had, this would be a bizarre, elaborate conspiracy to spread a hoax, to erode some knowledge that we already had our conclusion that the earth was flat been correct. Do you see what I mean? It wasn't seeking out new knowledge. It was just trying to trick people that they had been wrong.
If you notice, with every Masonic symbol is a ruler and a compass represents a circle. A circle is 360 degrees. You add those,
and why is a circle why is it 360?
That's because, back in those days, I mean, I don't know why it's 360, but I know it's to do with 9, because when you add the digits 360, when you add 3 and 6, that's 9 and 0.
360 days is roughly It should be 365, but that doesn't add up. It's roughly how long it takes the Earth to orbit the sun. The spherical sun.
Olden calendars used to be until the Georgian calendar came into play, which again in 1752, 11 days are missing in September. So, it's a weird one, that one as well. But this is where, again, after Nicholas Copernicus in the 15th century had introduced the heliocentric. So again, but that's why the Persian calendar goes 3,000 years, it's got 3,000 years of history. But our calculation is still as accurate, with the sun revolving around the Earth, for example. But that's the calculation that's the way I see it. I look at both histories and I think, okay, well, everyone's been swayed because of academic. If you didn't go to Oxford or if you weren't educated in these places, you weren't really. I mean, in the Western world, they don't have jinns. They don't believe in jinns. But when you go into the Middle East, they're so superstitious about that stuff. I mean, they take that seriously. So
and look where that got them.
You know who Ibn Sina is? Have you seen the film The Physician? Avicenna,
yes.
Yeah. Well,
great mathematician.
These are the old philosophers, Persians. I mean, you know Rumi, you've heard of Omar Khayyam, I'm sure.
Yeah.
These are but why is it they still use their poetry? It's still relevant to them. I mean, we live in a digital day and age, but yet the poetry is so deep it touches the essence. That's what it is. So nothing's really changed from then till now except technology. But the sun still goes down, comes up. Nothing in that sense. The physiological. I can't speak now. But you understand what I mean. Nothing's really.
Yeah.
But and to prove that, the sun, the reason why it was 360 before the calendar and it's 365 now is the sun, as the solar system is expanding, the sun is getting stretched further and further away. So days are getting added as well.
Okay, yeah, of course. And we've added months as well. October used to be the 8th month of the year. Now it's the 10th. Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, right. I mean, that was my contribution, but I would obviously listen to you on your show.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're always welcome. Thank you.
Take care.
Much appreciated. Thank you, and good night. There goes Mac, clearing up, tying up all the loose ends, and I do appreciate that. And he's a superb contributor to this show. And I don't want to get bogged down in arguing about what shape the world is. The point is, we live here, and we need to get on. And every time a new idea comes up that's going to unite the world, when Marx said, "Workers of the world, unite," it wasn't long before the Bolsheviks were at the throat of the Mensheviks. It wasn't long before the Leninists and the Stalinists were hurling abuse at the Trotskyites. I've heard that myself. And a lot of people do describe themselves as Marxist-Leninist, because when the revolution happened in the Soviet Union, and Marx had said that you need to go from a agrarian type society into a communist society where everyone would share the resources. He acknowledged that you would need to enter a period of capitalism, or that is the natural progression, that you go from feudalism to capitalism to eventual communism. And because the Soviet Union was a rural peasant society, Lenin had to enforce capitalism for a short time in the form of his new economic policy. And it was, I think, just that, forced upon the country rather than a natural progression. If Marx was right in what he said, that we are destined to end up living in a communal society where everyone shares things, then it would happen eventually, without us having to force it, without having to put a gun to someone's head, without having to send them to the gulag, it would just happen eventually because it makes sense. Just as if God really has decreed that one day the children of Israel will return to the Holy Land, then you don't have to put a gun to someone's head and force them out of their house in order to fulfill that prophecy. You can trust in it that it will one day happen. But that's the thing with religious ideology. People want to make the prophecy come true. And when your book says that one day you will conquer Constantinople, that's enough to make some people want to rush out and go and conquer Constantinople tomorrow. But who knows what the prophecy really means? Who knows what it's talking about? If you really believe in God and believe in your prophecy, you should trust that it will be fulfilled without you having to force it. But going back to the Soviet Union, this left-wing paradise utopia that came into existence in 1917, and the left these days are very often accused of being anti-Semitic because of the left's criticism of Israel. And some criticism of Israel does stumble over the line into anti-Semitism, and some anti-Semites are critical of Israel because it's a Jewish country, not because of the injustice perpetrated against the Palestinians. Some right-wing racists would love to do what Israel has done and are critical of Israel perhaps out of jealousy and the conspiracy theories that say that Jews are secretly ruling the world and such is a Jewish plot and this is a Jewish plot. And this mythology stems from, well, for example, the fact that the first country to recognize Israel was the Soviet Union. And in the early days of Israel and in the early days of Zionism, there was again a broad spectrum of opinion. Someone challenged me once at Speaker's Corner when I described myself as anti-Zionist, a chap called Joseph, who's a strong Zionist and a good friend of mine. He said, why can't you describe yourself as pro-Palestinian rather than anti-Zionist? And that notion stuck with me. And as critical as I am of Zionism, there is a broad spectrum of opinion among Zionists, and a lot of the early Zionists were Labour Zionists, and Labour Zionism was this left-wing movement within Zionism. There's a group called Hishamar Hatzer, if I pronounced that correctly. They, for example, set up these communal societies in the Holy Land, in the new state of Israel, and before it was declared, that were known as kibbutz. And on the kibbutz, the idea is that everyone shares everything. All the labor is shared. All the fruits of that labor are shared through the farming. And this is an example of the true communism that could actually work on a small scale. And our favorite Democrat candidate, Bernie Sanders, actually spent time on one of these kibbutzim in his youth in the 60s. And as much as they are part of the Zionist movement or the Labour Zionism, their vision of a future in Israel-Palestine would have been a binational state where Jews and Arabs could live together, work together. This is a much more acceptable form of Zionism, and it's no surprise that the anti-Semite critic of Bernie Sanders will want to say, look, there he was, he went to Israel, and this is a Jewish plot, Bernie Sanders is Jewish. But in actual fact, Bernie Sanders, who may well be a Zionist, is from that end of the Zionist spectrum that is not racist, that is not wishing to turf Palestinians out of their home, but is actually hoping for a shared future in the Middle East. Now, you might say, well, what right does any Jewish settler have to be in Palestine, if that's your view? But there will need to be a shared future there one day, and it is these ends of the Zionist opinion, that end of the political spectrum, where you will need to reach out to. So these are important conversations to have, and when we throw words around like I am anti this, anti that, anti-Zionist, we should be careful, and maybe it is better to describe yourself as pro-Palestinian rather than anti-Zionist. But the Zionist movement and the creation of the State of Israel did lead to, obviously, Palestinian resistance factions, and shortly after recognizing Israel, the Soviet Union, which was the first country to recognize Israel, lent much more towards the Arab side of the conflict. This was back when there was an Arab-Israeli conflict, when there were Arab states backing the Palestinian resistance. And we go to a call. Good morning, caller. Who's this?
What?
Hello. Welcome.
Who are you?
Well, I'm Lessons for Life. My name's Julian. Welcome.
Hey, so give me a lesson for life then, huh?
Well, I mean, tonight we're talking about ideology, and I was just running through various ideologies. We came through communism. I got as far as Zionism, and we could almost get onto Arab nationalism shortly. Do you want more?
That sounds boring as fuck. Why don't we talk about sex?
Try not to use
about,
bad language.
Anal sex or something.
Which kind?
Anal sex.
Why would you talk about that?
Because it hurts women. Man, sex is gay. He likes doing that. No, I'm not gay.
Okay. Is there someone there with you?
Yeah, she's my girlfriend.
Okay. You having a good time?
Only on Mondays and Sundays-ish.
Well, we're into Sunday. Happy Sunday.
Are we?
Yep, it's Sunday now.
Well, it's not Sunday here.
Where's it? Are you calling from another country?
I'm calling from England.
Yeah, well, it's Saturday night. Well, past midnight, it becomes Sunday.
Oh.
You should have consulted the Persian calendar.
Oh, I'm just really high right now.
That's all right. Give me a lesson for life. What did you say your name was?
I didn't give you my name.
Yeah, we'll give a fake name. Give a nickname if you want.
My name is William Witt.
William.
And I think I'm cool.
I think you're cool too, William. William, what's your lesson for life for me? Give me a tip.
Always fuck the women in the asshole instead of the pussy.
Oh, man. Thanks, William. Call anytime you like. Thank you.
Okay, bitch. Bye.
Cheers. That's some people can't bear to look themselves in the mirror, I think, but that's okay. That's the cloak of anonymity is always an exciting cloak to wear. And we all wear masks, metaphorically speaking. Oh, we got another call. Hello, who's this?
Okay.
Hello?
Do you want to fucking do you?
Hello?
And I look myself in the mirror all the time, bitch.
Yeah? And how do you feel?
I feel great.
Okay. If you do feel good looking yourself in the mirror, tell us your real name and drop the persona.
My name is William Witt, and I'm not Michael Jackson. I'm not a child molester.
Okay. See, you come on here and you're enjoying saying controversial things, perhaps to get a reaction.
That's what the internet's all about.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that. So is that a recording that you're playing there?
Yeah.
It's quite fun.
No, that was my one of my girlfriends. She was having a panic attack or something.
A panic attack? Oh dear.
Saying what?
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to get smart to you, child. What the fuck do you think you can get out of it?
I think that's a recording. I think you're playing a recording, aren't you?
No.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm positive, mate.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you calling me.
Why do you guys say mate anyways?
So what?
How do you know whether or not we're mates or not?
Are you American? I'm trying to pinpoint the accent.
Can you tell? I mean, it's not really that hard.
We could be Canadian. Whereabouts in America are you from?
You guys are supposed to be in the intelligent ones.
Yeah. What part of America are you from?
California.
California. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
How old are you?
I'm 34. What about yourself?
Do you still get it up really well?
Superb. This guy obviously likes his controversy. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like Eminem 3.0.
You're not the first king of controversy. How did you stumble across the channel?
How does anyone stumble across anything in this world?
Doesn't like to give much away. Do you watch the Kev Baker show by any chance?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, superb. Kev Baker, really great guy. Check out the Kev Baker show, by the way, viewers, listeners. I phoned him up the other night, told him that I had a channel. Next thing I know, he was playing my videos on his channel. Really, really great guy. Really good for a bit of alternative media, bit of esoteric. And this guy
do you know who that is?
Who?
Do you know who she is?
Who is?
The person that says that's hot.
That's hot. No, you'll have to inform me.
Yeah.
Who says that?
Wow, you don't pay attention to Hollywood stuff, huh?
Guess not. Enlighten us. Go on.
American Hollywood.
Yeah, that's the best Hollywood.
It's Paris Hilton.
Okay, Paris Hilton. Right. So Paris Hilton likes to say that's hot. I know. I've heard of Paris Hilton.
Well, yeah, do you like her?
Not really, but I don't know her, so I can't really pass judgment. What do you think of her?
I think she's sort of hot.
Okay.
She probably has got like STDs up the whiz lung, but whatever.
Possibly. And her family run a chain of hotels. Is she of that Hilton family?
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be interesting to be that rich. Look,
yeah,
can I just get your American opinion on something?
You're that rich.
Will you be voting in the upcoming election? No? You're not tempted by either side? You want to make America great again? What do you think of Trump?
It's all just a bunch of bullshit anyways. People are going to run the things the way they want to run them, and they can't really do much about it.
Fair enough. So you don't think having a vote makes any difference? You don't think Barack Obama changed things when he said, yes, we can, and became the first black president, and said he would close down Guantanamo Bay, but never did?
No, we're basically all fucked.
Okay. And what's one of your hopes in life? What do you hope for?
To get a girlfriend.
Okay, I thought you had one. Or is that a recording? She's just my fuck buddy. Okay. Got to mind the language on this show because we have a lot of children that like to tune in and watch.
Well, you should have little children on YouTube, but okay.
But anyone can watch it, can't they? So that's the thing.
You're little children. Listen to your voice, bitch.
Oh, yeah. So go on, tell us a joke then, or something. Give us something to bow out with. What's your best joke?
I'm sorry, I'm not a clown. I don't try to make people laugh. I make people cry.
There's your recording again of an angry Aussie. I don't know where that's coming from. But this has been, yeah.
This guy's good.
Yeah, I mean, if you put your phone number on the internet at 2 a.m, I guess, what do you expect? Listen, my friend, you can call me anytime. I appreciate it. Oh, God. Look, call me anytime. I hope you get that girlfriend you're after. What's that?
What do you think about WWE?
I think it's good fun.
What do you think about WWE?
I still call it WWF, and I'm stuck in the past, but it's good fun. I think it's good fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, when it was better.
Yeah, bring back Hulk Hogan and the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right. Look, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. There he goes. That's what happens if you put your number on the internet. Here we go again. Hello. Yeah.
What's up, bitch?
Hi there. You're live on Lessons for Life. We're talking about ideologies. Do you follow on?
Fuck ideology. That's too big of a word.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's idea, as in thoughts. Ology. Ology, the thought of. Yeah.
You know,
is that it?
Anyone can use big words to sound important.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you get that through your fucking head, you piece of shit?
That's a recording, isn't it? It's an angry Australian recording.
No, it's not.
It's a recording. Get him to say something else.
It's not. Go through yourself.
Get him to say something positive. He can't.
There's no positive in this world. There's only negative in this world.
Okay. Funny guy.
Is the jacket really warm?
Yeah, it is actually. Yes, it is.
Can you send it to me?
Do you want it?
Yeah.
You can't have this one. It's got sentimental value, but I could give you another one.
Fucking dog.
All right.
No, I want that one.
You can't have this one.
I'll give you $100 for it.
No, it's got sentimental value.
Really, you piece of shit.
Look, thank you for getting in touch. I do appreciate it. And Brian cannot tell, he's saying shalom, blessings everyone. That's a beautiful Hebrew greeting we're getting in the chat there. Thank you, Brian. Shalom and peace be with you.
What the fuck are you getting out of, you piece of shit cunt?
Yeah, all right, thanks fella. Gonna go now. Yeah, that's great. You know what? I put the number out there. Anyone that wants to call me is welcome to. Apart from this guy, although he's persevering. Hello, yeah. That's going to leave him on. Don't want to leave him on in the background. Superb. It's funny, this is it's a great insight into the human existence. If you give someone the cloak of anonymity, this is what they'll do. This is what secretly we all want to do, but we don't do it because we fear we'll be judged for it and looked on as a lunatic. But because no one's watching him, because no one knows who he is, he's having this. He's having this cathartic experience right now. He's letting it all out. It's kind of the equivalent of going into a padded room, a padded cell, where the men in white coats just dump you in there and just really letting loose, just letting it all out. And we all have to do that from time to time. So if this channel can be an avenue for people to let their anger out, how do I turn it off? Then, I'm all for it. One of the most popular pursuits he's getting angry now. He's swearing. You pitch up at the fairground, and here we go. Playing the music. Apologise for the bad language there. Apologies for the bad language. You go to the fairground. One of the most fun things is the smash up the plates routine, where they got the plates on the shelves and they give you a ball and you can just smash it up. You don't win anything. It's not like the coconut one where you knock off a coconut and take it home. You just get the enjoyment of stepping outside the usual routine and being able to smash up some plates, a bit like the Greeks do after their dinner. And Brian cannot tell is saying, respect my friend, your patience and care are refreshing. Thank you, Brian. Your appreciation is appreciated. And he's back on now. He's phoning me up again. Hello? Yeah. See, swearing. Yeah. I wonder what he's hoping for. Well, he said he was hoping. Oh, we're all really offended by the bad language there. I'll just leave him on in the background. So yeah, we were talking about ideologies, and it's got derailed by maybe this guy is an anarchist.
What is that, like a psychic? So read my future.
Oh.
It's not a psychic.
Read my future.
It's not a psychic.
I don't give a fuck. She'll be a psychic for me.
He's got
so read my future.
He's got someone there. There's
Stop laughing.
definitely two of them.
Read my future.
Would you like me to read your future?
Yeah.
Okay. You will have a long and happy life. And
Oh, that's a shitty reading for.
you're going to have
Exactly.
a baby boy.
Exactly what we're talking about.
A beautiful baby boy in 9 months from tonight.
That requires that shit.
Yeah. Is that it?
We don't want to have to impregnate a bitch. Fuck that shit.
This is recording again. Yeah, anyway, as I say, thanks. Cool.
Sex is the only way.
Thanks, mate. So, yeah, to wrap things up, my the conversation about ideology has almost come to a conclusion. Let's sum it up for me, caller. What's your What's your conclusion?
Did you? My conclusion is that your show is really boring. Piece of shit. Where the fuck are you, you dog? I'm gonna smash the fuck out of you, cunt.
Okay.
You think it's hilarious? Yeah. What? You fucking think it's hilarious, do you?
This is brilliant.
Go ahead. Go kill yourself. Transgender.
Okay.
Transgender. Asian cross-dresser. You fucking piece of shit. Fucking piece of shit. I'll fucking find you and I'll fucking move both of you cunt.
Apologies again for the bad language. But it's very empowering to never be offended. Here's my ideology. Just don't be offended. If someone is trying to offend you, don't give in. Just don't be offended. If someone wants to swear at you, that's fine. If someone wants to insult your family, so what? And there'll be people out there saying, oh, what if you insult my parents, if you do this, you do that, I'm going to kill you. How thick are you? That's not what your parents would want you to do. They'd want you to stay safe and not get involved in violence, not get riled up, not get provoked.
What's sick?
Hello?
Tell me who the fuck you are, Kyle.
Yeah, more bad language. I mean, this person's hoping that I'm going to be upset that he's using bad language on here. People of very little influence will use what little influence they have to the max.
Little fucking tough faggot.
Oh, is that someone else now? Hello?
Fuck your bitch.
Yeah, more bad language.
You're just a fucking sad little cunt. You know what my problem is? You little cunt. You poor fucking sad little cunt.
Yeah.
Yes, poor little sad little
More
cunt.
of this Australian recording.
Cunt.
Brilliant.
Cunt, 100% cunt. Bitch.
But like I say, it is interesting that
Bitch, what's up, man?
given
Bitch. What you got, bitch?
given the opportunity,
Bitch.
this is what some people want to do.
Yeah, that bitch. 100% bitch.
All right. Is that it? Is it? Well, I've given it
Fucking bitch.
as long as I can. This is as good as it gets, yeah?
How does it feel, you little bitch?
Yeah, Brian cannot tell. He's saying he's using a soundboard. Yeah, he's using a soundboard. I think it's one, maybe it's one person. Was the caller, was the female voice a soundboard as well?
You little fucking bitch.
Was the female voice a soundboard as well?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's not a soundboard. What the f***?
Oh, cool. No, that's good. So, the woman is real. That's a real woman. Because she just said it's not a soundboard.
You're a dirty man. You fucking whack, man.
But the Australian voice is a soundboard. Interesting. Well, I say interesting.
Your brain is a soundboard.
Sort of.
You jerking off? You fucking loser. You fucking cunt.
All right.
Do you play Fortnite?
No, I don't. Is it any good?
Why not?
I was born 20 years too late, I think. I
It's on YouTube.
missed the boat on that one. What's Fortnite like? Is it good?
It's awesome.
I was more into Golden Axe in the old days.
What the fuck is Golden Axe?
Golden Axe was a great game on the Sega Mega Drive.
You're just talking out of your ASF. Dear
Okay.
God, you are old.
Yeah, you probably don't remember the Sega Mega Drive. It was a great games console in the
Fuck you.
in the
Do you
90s.
even have a girlfriend?
Oh no, that's my wish. Same as you.
You dumbass. You got balls, right? How do you have 6 people on YouTube watching this shit? Jesus.
And one person calling. I know, it's amazing.
I know. Where is everybody?
I don't know. Look,
You're a motherfucking retard.
yeah. Well, I'm going to wrap it up, but thank you for calling. I do appreciate it. Any contribution makes it an interesting night.
Go for it.
Okay. Honestly, you have a good night and call anytime you like. There he goes. Yeah, all about peace and love on this show. And then we've got some missed calls coming through. I'm very sorry if you were trying to call the show while that number was tying up the phone lines. But hey, this is Lessons for Life, and we'll do it again soon. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate every contribution, every comment, every like, every share. It does mean a lot. And we'll do it all again soon. This has been Lessons for Life. We were here and we're gone. Laters.